The ESRI report makes very stark reading today that the number of people living in energy poverty is now nearly 1/3 of all households, and it's set to increase, they say, as high as 43%. Now, the question is, are the pay increases that the government are going to consider be in line with this absolutely shocking increase in the cost of living? The ICTU estimates that the average worker has lost €2,500 in income, in real terms. Now, it is obviously necessary for workers to have that returned to them in pay increases. And I think that's pay increases in the order of what we've seen for things like Dunn's and Tesco workers, 10% to compensate for that level of loss. But it's also in the interest of the economy, because that's purchasing power that those workers no longer have, and if they do not get compensated with significant pay increases and increases in things like the living wage, it is actually going to lead to a significant hit on the wider economy.
Thanks very much, Deputy Boyd Barrett. And look, we're not going to agree a new public service pay deal here. It will only be done at the WRC, and those very issues you have legitimately raised are the subject of discussions at this very moment in time. So we need to allow that process to take its course and to conclude, and hopefully it will reach a successful conclusion, because I do want a deal. I think it is in everyone's interests to have industrial peace and to reach a settlement that is fair to public service workers, and it does take account of the level of pressure that people are experiencing in respect of cost of living. But there are wider considerations that I and government have to take into account as well. You know, we are seeing the cost of borrowing rise for all of us. For the Irish state, it's now up at around 2.5%. Not too long ago, it was essentially zero. So there are changes in the wider economic outlook here, which unfortunately globally it has deteriorated. So we have to make sure whatever we do is affordable, and we have levers other than pay. And we've used some of them so far. We will need to do more in the budget. We acknowledge that, to address cost of living. So it is not solely going to be addressed through pay mechanisms, and we do have to watch the competitiveness issue. It is important for the future of our country. We've seen the employment growth that we've experienced in recent months. We want that to continue, but we also have to make sure that work pays for people.
Yeah, well, Minister, this Saturday, the Cost of Living Coalition will see thousands of workers, students, pensioners, people on low incomes coming out, protesting and on the cost of living crisis. And one of the messages that they are clearly seeking to get across to you is this is not an either or. We need pay increases for workers to match, and income increases for those in pensions and social welfare to match the level of inflation. Otherwise, in real terms, people are taking income and pay cuts. That's the reality, and there is no justification for that. But in addition, we need to reduce the basic costs of living around accommodation, bring in things like rent controls, actually deliver affordable housing, reduce the cost of childcare, public transport, education, and so on. But it's not an either or. And the elephant in the room in all of this, right, when you say, well, we can't borrow too much. Yeah, we can't borrow too much. But let's remember, there's some people making a lot of profits at the moment. There have been some winners in the inflation crisis, and maybe they could contribute to ensuring that ordinary people don't see their incomes fall and get the pay increases they deserve.
Yeah, thanks, Deputy. And look, as we approach Budget 2023, there will be a lot of demands. We won't be able to meet all of them. We are going to have to prioritise as a government and make choices as to what the priorities are. And at a time when people are under considerable pressure, the priority will have to be to address cost of living issues, particularly for low-income and middle-income households, to make sure that we assist them at this time. There will be many ambitions across government to implement in full the programme for government to expand and improve on public services, and this is a government that has prioritised investment in public services. You know, public expenditure has been increasing significantly. We have a very ambitious national development plan. We have to ensure that the basics that people need in their life are looked after. I get that point, I understand it, and that will have to be the focus of the forthcoming budget, and I'll be determined, working with colleagues across government, that is where the focus lies.
And a brief question.